Are you a teenager and you have a good book to read? This is the video for you. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 6 book recommendations, and for each one, I'll give an age rating that I think it's appropriate for. But don't let the age rating fool you. If I say it's for like 11 and 12-year-olds and older, that doesn't mean a 15-year-old can't read it. It just means I think it's for that age and older. So, let's get into it. The first book or series I'd say I'm recommending is the Ascendance series. It has 5 books in it, including The False Prince, The Runaway King, The Shadow Throne, The Captive Kingdom, and The Shattered Castle. I'd recommend it for ages 10 and up, but don't let that stop you from reading it if you're my age, like 14, because I love the series. I read it actually with my book club, and it was so much fun because basically what it's about is in this faraway land, civil war is brewing. So this nobleman named Connor is trying to unify his kingdom. So how he does this is gathers like these orphans from around the countryside, goes orphanage to orphanage, and gathers the orphans based off of looks because he's trying to get a kid that looks like the dead prince of the land. So basically, the king and queen's son, the prince, is said to have been killed by pirates like a few years ago. But Connor is going to bring in an orphan, make him look like the prince, make him act like the prince, and bring him into the kingdom, be like, oh my gosh, he's alive. And he thinks it'll unify the kingdom. So anyways, he collects these boys, and one of them is named Sage, and he is stubborn, prideful, and he is very hard to control. The dishwasher is making sounds. Anyways, once Connor brings all these boys back, Sage kind of realizes that Connor's motives are kind of questionable. He's thinking that there's more than in this little game of his than to just unify the kingdom. But he can't just tell him this because his life is literally at sword's point. He has to convince Connor that he can be the long lost prince, because if he doesn't, he's pretty sure he'll die. But he's also uncovering like mystery upon mystery. So that's what the book's about, and I love this series to death. It's probably one of my favorite series I've ever read, and I would totally recommend it. The next book I'm recommending is 19 Steps by Millie Bobby Brown. I recommend it for like ages 13, 14 and older. You may have heard of Millie Bobby Brown from like Stranger Things, like some of the movies she's been in, Nola Holmes. But I love this book so much. Basically, she wrote about her grandma in World War II in London, and her grandma's name is Millie. I thought it would be kind of more of like a boring, like history-based book, but it was so good. There is a lot of like sorrow, you know, like sad things happening. So if you can't handle that, I wouldn't recommend reading it. And it had lots of romance in it because Millie, the grandma, she's basically like 17 when the book starts, and it takes you through like 17 when the war began and all the way till like the day she dies. But it sounds boring, but it's really not, because it goes through her life during war, but also it's like her teenage years. So like she like wants to like go out with boys, she wants to like go to parties, you know, like I don't know, live the teenage years. She wants to also just like live life, but it's hard with the war going on. She experiences so much like just sad things happening in her life, like death, and oh, so sad. It's a lot of ups and downs. Like I was like, oh my gosh, how can this get better? This poor girl has experienced so much, but then it just ends up so great in the end. But it does have, again, a lot of sad things happening because obviously it is war, and I love this book. 10 out of 10 recommend. The next book I actually don't have a physical copy of, but it's called Rescue, and it's by Jennifer A. Nielsen, and I would recommend it for ages 11 and up. Basically what's about is a girl named Meg, and she lives in France during World War II. Her father is held prisoner by the Nazis, and she feels that he'll never like come back home. He'll never return. And all she has left from him is like a jar of codes for her to decipher, because that's like a game they would play, like deciphering codes. But the codes are running low, and soon she'll have nothing left of her father. But one day, she's coming home from the town one day to her house, and she finds a trail of blood leading into her grandmother's barn. She follows it, and inside she finds an injured British spy, and his name is Captain Stewart. He tells her that he knows her father, and that his mission was originally to leave a family of German refugees through Nazi-occupied France to neutral Spain, where one of the family members has promised to free Meg's father. But now he's too injured to complete the mission, so he's offering it to Meg. And keep in mind, she's only like 12 or 13 years old, so obviously she probably could do the mission, but like she's so young, so it takes courage to be able to do this. But she does accept. And also, the one last thing that Captain Stewart gives her is one last code from her father that could be costly enough to risk the mission and her own life. Anyway, so that's what the book's about. I love this book, and it went so deep because like the German like refugees, like the families, like she doesn't know if she can trust them, and identities are revealed, secrets are uncovered, and it was just a really good book overall. Next series I'm recommending is literally one of my favorites. It's the Hunger Games series. I have books 1 and 3, which are The Hunger Games and Mockingjay. They're by Suzanne Collins. I would recommend the series overall for like 12 to 13 years and older, but the third book, because of like romance and some really gory scenes in my opinion, like the third book should be 13 and older, just because I feel like it's more so than like the first and second one. Basically, if you don't already know what the Hunger Games is about, it's basically about this country named Panem, and there's the capital and there's 12 districts. There used to be 13, but District 13 tried to revolt, and so the capital basically like wiped out the whole district. So now there's 12 districts, and how the capital, like their like little trick they do in order to keep the districts from revolting is the Hunger Games. It's basically where they have one girl and boy tribute from each district, and how they do this is like they pull names out of like a big bowl, like they pull it, and that's the girl and that's the boy, and a girl and boy from each district, so that's 24 kids in all between ages 12 and 17. They all go into this big arena and they have to fight to the death until there's only one victor left. But also the people in the capital are kind of like hacking it, like not hacking it, but like it's not really that fair, because if they want the game to go quicker, they can like put fire over here so that someone has to move this way, so that like they meet and like they kill each other off. So it's kind of sad. So if you can't handle that, like if you can't handle kids killing kids in a big arena, do not read this book. But I really enjoyed it. But this year, where the first book takes place, it's Katniss Everdeen is the girl. She volunteers in front of her sister, so her sister's the tribute, but she's like all go instead of her. So she goes with the boy tribute, and so that's what the first book's about, like their Hunger Games, and it just like spirals, like wow. And the third book was probably my favorite. Just wow, it was such a good series. The next book I'm recommending in this video is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, and I recommend it for like ages 10, 11 and up. I thoroughly enjoy this book. Basically what's about is each year the town or the people of the Protectorate, which is like a town, they send out a baby as an offering to the witch who lives outside of their town, because they think that she will terrorize them if they don't send out a baby offering. But really, the witch named Zan is kind and gentle. Each year, she goes to the walls of the Protectorate and gathers these babies and takes care of them, because she's like, what kind of crazy people leave their babies out to die? So she takes them and she like raises them until they're a few years of age, and since she's a witch, she feeds them starlight. Starlight basically makes them maybe a little bit smarter, maybe a little bit more pretty, I don't know, just like little things like that. And once they're 5 years old, then she passes them on to another town on the other side of the forest that adopts them. But one year, Zan collects this one kid, and instead of feeding her Starlight, she actually feeds her Moonlight, which may not seem like a big difference, but Starlight doesn't make the kid magical, or like it doesn't give them magic, but Moonlight does. So once she realizes what she's done, she realizes she has to raise this kid on her own and can't pass them on to the next town or village or whatever. And also, the people in the Protectorate, one guy finally gathers up the courage to go into the forest, and he's determined to kill the witch, while a volcano, dormant for years, is about to erupt, while this little girl, who the witch names Luna, is her magic's coming out in weird ways because she hasn't learned how to control it yet. There's a lot going on, which is why I love this book. It's like from a third-person point of view, so you're seeing everything, and it's just crazy. Because the character building is crazy, because you thought they were one person, but they're like this person. There's like history behind everyone, and it's so cool. The next and final book is Lines of Courage by Jennifer Aniston. It's a little warped because we had like plumbing issues, like leaking, so it got wet, which is kind of sad, but still a good book nonetheless. It's by Jennifer Aniston, one of my favorite authors, and I recommend it for like 11 and up. But basically what's about is there's like 5 parts of the book, so like 5 sections, but it's not like 5 books in one. It's not that kind of thing. Each one is about a different kid in a different country during World War II. And basically what I learned from it, and what kind of like it showed, is that a girl in Germany is gonna have a totally different perspective than like a boy in Russia or in Britain or in somewhere else, because they're fighting different sides of the war, they're different ages. It's like totally cool to see that, and the stories are all intertwined, and how like they played their part in the war, but even though they're like kids, they still like did their part and helped their communities. And it sounds like a history book, but like most of Jennifer Aniston's like history-based books. It's not. It was so fun to read, and I would totally recommend it, like all these books. So anyways, I hope you found a good one in there, and don't forget to watch out for part 2 of this video because I'll have tons of more good books in there. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, don't forget, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on Isabella's Inspirations. Bye!